Welcome back, everybody, to Hoops HD. It is
Woohoo!
Sunday, February 15th. That means it's time for our bracket rundown show. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. We got David Griggs and Matt Sikowski up
Yes,
top,
we do.
John Sleek in the center square, Mike Cha and John Titel to his sides. Down the bottom row there, Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org. Is
That
that
is not to
everybody?
be confused with Jim J. Bullock and Alf.
No. Well, there's a couple extra squares here, one for Shadow Stevens, maybe. Uh, I don't know. But this is our bracket rundown show where what we actually did this week is I had each of our panelists submit to me their top 55 teams. It's kind of a number we've selected over the years here in order. I cross-country scored those 55 lists, added them all together, came up with a consensus seed list, and we're going to reveal that seed list kind of Selection Sunday style almost, comment on it, discuss it, and the like. But before we get to any of that, like we love to do on our bracket rundown shows, how about a little blind resume time? Uh, and I am pulling these resumes up here. I'll give each of you a few seconds to look at them. And as always, my question to all of you is going to be left or right? Who do you like better? Or if you want to tell me that they're about even, that's fine. Matt, you're studying a little bit here. I know you're a big metrics guy, which means you probably like right better, but go ahead.
Yeah, as I was looking at it, I do. I think I like for mine, I like the right better, and that like the right along with predictive metrics are definitely better, and that even like I said, I've become a fairly big fan of wins over bubble. Team on the right 43, team on the left 54. So like I think do like an accurate measure of all results and like kind of plugging it in. Team right's better, even though I know team left looks stronger at the top. I think cumulatively team right's better.
Yeah, Tytel, I know you're a big fan of these also. He makes a point there. Team left has a lot more in quad one than team right does.
Correct. I'm still leaning right. J&G says they're very close, but the predictives seem to go right. And I'm interested that one of the things that sticks out for me is that they both played the third net in the country.
Wow.
They also
Hmm.
played a couple other like top nets. So I assume these are power conference teams. But if that's the case, the one on the left should get penalized for an atrocious non-conference strength of schedule.
Yeah, Griggs, you said, wow, you had thoughts, because I know you probably like those
I
road wins on the left.
I did. I thought I was pretty sure I knew who both of them were, and now I think I was wrong on both of them. Because
Big 12's on the left.
what's that?
The left has a Big 12 profile.
I don't think it's a Big 12 team. I think I know the one on the left still. The one on the right is not who I initially. When I said
It's
wow, it
a
was when
former
I
Big
thought I
12.
knew who it was, but
Mhm.
it's not them.
Well,
Former
I'll
Big
let
12
Win
team on the
short.
left.
What?
former Big 12 team on the left.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yes.
The left is Texas.
No,
It's not.
no. It's a
Yes,
former
it.
Big 12. It's a different former Big 12 team.
Go ahead, Rocco. Tell us who we think we have, and who do you like? Well, who do you like better first? Then who do you think we have?
Well, yeah, I just by the bare bones of it, obviously the three road wins are important on the left. Unfortunately, none of them are in the top half of quad one. They're still valuable, but that almost appears like at least two of the three are non-tournament wins, and the other one, if you're lucky, might scratch in. And then the one on the right, it's just better overall records.
Okay.
You see the meaningful record on the left, of course, is under 500. At least it appears to be, or it's close to being under 500. So in general, since I do know the teams, I do prefer the team on the right. But yeah, and the team on the left, former Big 12 team, your Missouri Tigers,
And the team on the right?
Aztecs.
You're right about the team on the right. We actually got you this time, Rocco. I'm surprised.
Oh, it's
Team on
not
the left.
Missouri.
How about West Virginia?
Oh,
They are
Mike was
still a Big 12
Chaw.
team.
Chaw was right.
Mike had it. Mike had it. Big 12 team, and I guess, Title, let me throw it over to you. Does it almost surprise you that West Virginia, we haven't discussed them much all season, but I
We
think this
have.
team has started to make a run at the bubble now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they are making a run. I think that's fair to say. And they're 3-3 on the road, which deserves a lot of credit. And they still have plenty of opportunities. BYU with a huge injury news today on February 28th at home
Terrible.
is now going from a
Yeah.
good luck game to a possible winnable game. UCF is fading. Like I see a lot of wins in this team's future, maybe.
Yeah, and I guess still when I look at these profiles, Rocco, West Virginia has beaten two teams that are in this that are going to be in the field tonight. I don't think San Diego State has done that yet, unless you think New Mexico's in, which is their. But and that
They're
was just a
very
home
close.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with a lot of these Mountain West resumes. Unfortunately for San Diego State, they did beat Oregon, and at the time, it probably felt like it was going to mean a lot. Unfortunately, this is a year where it didn't work out that in that direction. Worst year you could possibly beat Oregon. But outside of that, if they have a strong year, I think they're tied in the loss column for the Mountain West lead right now. If they share that championship, I think that will help a lot, especially if it's this situation now where New Mexico's trying to fight in, where New Mexico has the better road wins of these two. But I think San Diego State, just the consistency is there. And they've also had Gwath in and out. He just came back on Saturday. The committee will definitely be talking about Gwath. They've had several other injuries as well. Not sure where to go with that. It's just they're an interesting case because but I think the one thing they offer is consistency.
I think one of the problems with West Virginia, though, is yes, they have 2 wins against teams in the field. They also have at least 3 and probably 4 teams that are not making the tournament right here because Ohio State is going to be the question mark. Baylor, Wake, and Xavier are only getting in with an auto bid.
The other thing, though, that West Virginia is playing well, and the season's not over. And you look at their remaining games, and I think they could actually win them all. At TCU is going to be kind of rough, but they're better than Utah, and they're at home. They're better than Oklahoma State. BYU is beat up. K-State is coachless, and UCF is not a good road team.
Coachless. I love that term.
Coachless.
Saw that coming.
Nobody else
let's,
there left to coach. Nobody's there.
Yeah.
We will talk a little K-State tomorrow night after our Hoops HD report, but let's go ahead and jump over to the bracket itself. It is blank right now. Griggs, what do you think so far?
I don't have any problems yet, but I still think that the best way to do this would have just been to use my seed list and ignore all the rest of you.
I really shouldn't ask of anything ever on these shows. I'm going to reveal one team at a time for the first 16 teams. Then we'll go a seed line at a time. Start with the number one overall team, which was almost unanimous, Griggs. Mike, it's your Michigan Wolverines, though. Number one overall now.
Yeah, I mean, with Arizona losing twice, Michigan, it was Michigan's opportunity to step up, and they did. They had a tough time against Northwestern, down by 16 in the second half, but they really turned on the Jets, and then they beat UCLA rather easily at home yesterday. And it's for now they're the overall number one, but you got to keep in mind they play at Purdue on Tuesday, against Duke and Washington, D.C. on Saturday. So we'll see if they can hold on to the overall number one spot.
Yeah, and Griggs, I know you didn't quite agree with Michigan number one overall. I think if they go 2-0 this week, you're going to be really hard pressed not to put them number one overall next week.
Correct. I still had Arizona. I don't, and if you pull them up side by side, I'll just show you that I just thought while Arizona has lost back-to-back games, one was on the road at Kansas, those are like high caliber losses. Michigan lost at home to Wisconsin. While they only have one loss, it was to a team that is nowhere near a protected seed the way Arizona's losses were. And their wins, Florida, Connecticut on the road is still maybe the second best overall win that any team has managed. The best being Texas Tech's at Arizona, at a full strength BYU, Alabama. They top out higher. Their losses, while twice as many, are to much better teams. And I just think Arizona, at the end of the day, it's a full body of work. It isn't just 1 week, has done more all year long than Michigan. Having said that, it's close. And one of the things you can't ignore about Michigan is how badly they've beaten a lot of good teams. It's not outrageous that I don't have a huge problem with them being the overall number one. They just weren't my personal overall number one.
Fair enough. Let's go to number two overall. Titel, it's not even your Arizona Wildcats yet. We have Duke, who's playing Michigan this weekend, and you'll be there.
Very excited, Shad. I'm glad that it is a 1v2. Obviously, I'd love for Arizona to still be 1 or 2, but I can't in good conscience, like you said, a team with a losing streak. I think this is right where they should be. I'm excited to go. I've never been to College Game Day, so I'm going to go to that in the morning as well at the Capital One Arena. So a full day of teams who are hopefully not going to beat Arizona next month. But I'm excited to do a little scouting in February.
Yeah, and Matt, let me bring you in here too. Number 3 overall, also. Now, surprised we do get Arizona here on the top line at least.
Oh yeah, that's it should have fallen further than 3. And I think there's a big difference between these 3 and even the last few teams we're going to discuss for the final 1 seed. And that, but now it's when Arizona stopped the bleeding. Now I think you can probably take 1 or 2 more losses and still comfortably be a 1 seed. But yeah, do that and hope that Koa Pete's back fairly soon.
Yeah, and that's a little asterisk you can put by Arizona, shorthanded for these 2 losses. So, as long as they get healthy,
And
this
it's
team
not like
is
they were blown out.
no.
Yeah.
It's not like Kansas playing without Peterson. No.
Yeah.
But we up to here. Stalika, number 4 overall. It was UConn almost unanimous, but most of us had UConn here at number 4 overall. You agree, I think, right?
I had UConn on number 4, and I also had Houston on the doorstep at number 5. As we've discussed before, I think UConn, as long as they keep winning, they'll probably remain number 1. But with Houston's schedule being a bit backloaded, they have probably more, probably more of an opportunity to leapfrog UConn as far as potential quality wins when you look at Iowa State, Arizona, and Kansas. You want to talk about a gauntlet right there?
Yeah, Rocco, this Houston team, it's almost funny, but I still don't think we know how good they are, and we're in the middle of February because they haven't played the real big boys yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doubting them personally, but I
Yeah.
get it. Like the resume wouldn't suggest that there's enough evidence quite yet, especially with BYU kind of taking a step back. Not that Houston didn't play in full strength. I think that'll help them, but it's just out of the 6 pack that we've looked at the Big 12 all year, BYU's pretty unanimously right now number 6 in the 6 pack. The other 4 have kind of agreed to beat up on each other, and we'll see if Houston participates starting tomorrow. Otherwise, I expect Houston to uh, to give the rest of the league liposuction once again and win the thing.
Now, before we get too far, I've noticed there's a couple new features on Chad's team sheets. Would you care to explain the CO that's on our
Oh,
board here?
thank you, Stalika. You'll see here in blue on both of these guys, winning streak, and red, if you're on a losing streak, it's in red. That used to be over here on the left. We moved it over because we now have versus CO in its place. Versus CO is versus common opponents. So the 2 teams head to
Ah,
head here. So Houston and UConn have one single common opponent. They both beat them. Uh, it looks like it's BYU actually,
yep.
who is that common opponent. But it is something that the actual NCAA tournament selection committee does look at. So we'll be able, when comparing 2 teams, to check their records versus common opponents. And it's teams that you've actually played so far. So if you haven't played them yet, it's not going to register yet. As we go through the next couple of weeks here, that those numbers should actually go up as more teams play each other.
Yeah, and you can look at these. You can look at all of these. You're not limited. If you want to look at the Southland team sheets, you can do it all day long. They're right up there, right up there.
Right up there, right up there. The common opponents thing you can't. We can only look at one at a time, so that's actually
Uh,
blanked out up there.
oh, it is.
We,
Okay.
we
Well,
can't.
never
You
mind
can't.
that.
But you can. Everything else on these team sheets is up there on the top
Yeah.
under team sheets. Uh, Number 5 overall. I don't think it's any surprise. Mike, you would have had them number 4 overall. We had the number 5 overall. That's Houston out there in the South region.
Yeah, I deliberated, obviously between Connecticut and Houston. I thought, um, I just remember, I mean, like, I don't have a problem with this. Obviously, things will play itself out, like as Rocco alluded to. I gave the edge to Houston. I was kind of turned off by Connecticut's. They struggled to beat Georgetown yesterday.
Yes.
Whereas Houston's playing well. Like they're not only winning, but they're annihilating the opponents. So, but like I said, I don't have a problem with Houston being at 5. It's very close between Connecticut and Houston.
Yep. And
You know who would have a problem with this? Connecticut.
yes, yes. Houston is not the host. It's not in their host building, which means they are allowed to play in the South region, which is in Houston. And okay, it's a tough call. We gave UConn the 1 seed, but they're going to have to play the games in Houston. So sorry, UConn.
Yeah, the way
Yeah.
it's formatted, it's like it's just window dressing that Connecticut's won Houston's too. I mean, it's it's in Houston. That's the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to number
Yeah,
6.
Rice University's the host.
Yeah.
Uh, Titel, number 6 overall. How about Iowa State?
Ooh, that's high. Wow.
This is already our third Big 12 team, and we're only 6 teams in.
Love it. The conference is showing out this year, and I think that's, I could argue for a couple Big Ten teams here, but they won at Purdue by a lot. They beat Kansas by a lot. Plenty of other wins on the schedule. They got the best three-point shooter in the nation in Momcilovic. I like this I like them right here.
Huge games tomorrow night, too. They're going to be hosting Houston. So we got coming up this week. Not only do we have 1 versus 2 coming up, we also this weekend we have 5 and 6 coming up tomorrow night on our seed list. So a lot of good games coming up this week.
Yes.
Matt, we got Illinois coming in here at number 7. This is our second Big Ten team, I believe. Yes.
Yes, and I think the team you're going to see probably coming right after him in the next spot or two lost at home to Illinois, along with losing at home to Iowa State. And so that's, I think, why Illinois, it's a fairly close comparison otherwise. But yeah, that right there, it's hard for when you win at their place. That's not one of those, it wasn't even like a neutral site or whether at their place. And well, Illinois by 6 and Iowa State by a gazillion. That's why it's going to be hard for Purdue, especially Iowa State. I think Purdue's going to really have to finish strong to leapfrog Iowa State when you look at that glaring head-to-head.
Yeah, they both these teams. There's Purdue also who have not put in yet, but those road quad 1A wins are just amazing. I think when you look at both these profiles.
Yeah, exceptionally amazing. And one of the things is just like how good of a February Illinois has had. I mean, it's just been remarkable. Some of their, if you want to even call them bad losses, none of them are bad because you're talking about losing to mostly protected seeds. Sans Wisconsin at home, kind of a surprise, but Illinois has just been on fire lately. And Purdue, it doesn't seem like they have been, but my God, look at that! At Nebraska, Texas Tech, at Alabama, at Iowa, which isn't easy, at Wisconsin, who is suddenly like playing really well. That win's aging a lot better than I thought it did at the time. How is it that they're winning all those games away from home?
Yeah, and they had a pretty nice week too at Nebraska and Iowa this past week. Wow. Stalika, our last 2 seed, probably no surprise it is that Boilermaker team we just discussed.
You look at a team like Purdue, we had pretty much mentioned that their biggest wins probably came in the non-conference. When you look at wins against Alabama, the blowout against Texas Tech on a neutral floor, and now the win at Wisconsin starting to look a lot more significant now that the Badgers are starting to solidify themselves in the top half of the bracket, and getting Nebraska in their back pocket is also going to be a signature win for the Boilers.
Rocco, our first of our 3 seeds, also probably not that big of a surprise. It is those Kansas Jayhawks, already our 4th of this group of Big 12 teams. I just thought this was such a hard team to place the ties because it's such a different team with or without Peterson.
Yes and no. I mean, they beat Tennessee and Arizona without him, and I think their defense is better without him. But they got Hilton Magic pretty bad the other day.
Yeah.
They had won, I think, a month's worth of games. They had won every game since January 10th before that. So body of work is really strong. I was surprised they fell to a 3, but when you stack everybody next to each other, I think that's the right decision. And this is where I had them.
All right. Titel, number 10 overall. How about Nebraska still up here on the 3 line?
I like it. There's certainly some SEC team coming at them hard, but I think that the body of work is just amazing. The amazing winning streak to start the season. The win at Illinois is looking better every week. Plenty of other road wins in conference play. The loss at Michigan, they were missing 2 of their big guys, Frager and Mast. So I think that I like this right here.
Yeah, interesting. They got this game in Iowa this week, and you still have to do that West Coast trip out to USC and UCLA. So
another Iowa game.
And Iowa twice. Look at that.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times if they play them again in the conference tournament.
Let's get crazy.
Griggs, I want to go to you for the next team that came up because you and I both would have had this team on the 2 line. No one else did.
Okay, I know who
And
it is.
I'm with you on this. Again, because but I think it's just because of what we just saw happen. Maybe I had a little recency
It
bias.
isn't. It's
Texas Tech.
that is yes. Is it just because of what happened? No, but that what just happened is a major, major part of it. But it isn't just that. It is the fact that they've beaten what I thought were the top
2,
two.
3,
Yeah.
4. Look at those wins. 2, 3, 4. Only
Yes.
missing one.
Yeah, so they have beaten three. If you believe in the notion that there's four and a half number one seeds, they've beaten three of them and they beat two of them away from home. And literally no one else has done that. No one that we've selected and no one that we're about to look at. And I just think that while I understand, well, head to head, Illinois, so you bump Illinois ahead of them and they lost to Purdue and they lost to Hugh. No one else tops out that high. That is ridiculous. Like one
And
seeds don't have that many wins against one seeds typically.
Rocco, is it just the number of losses being 6 losses a little high for a 3 line? Is that the problem with why most of you look at them a line lower than this? I'm sorry, look at them on the 3 line. The number of losses too many for the 2 line. Have to bring them up a line higher is what I meant.
Look at their
Yeah,
losses. Good God.
well, probably. I think, you put all these games into a basket, and it's like if you're good, if you're this good, you should be able to win a few of them. And they just happen to get the wins against the very top of the board, but they've lost to a lot of the teams closer to them. When you look at Purdue, Illinois, and Kansas, they've lost to teams below them, Arkansas and UCF. So, yeah, it's tough to pinpoint where they exactly belong. But you have to factor all of that in. It's not just about the wins. You also have to consider who they lost to. I think they've had, an array of personnel changes. Obviously, they still have their big two that they'll feature, but Christian Anderson missed a couple games, and so part of that's in the equation. And obviously, you want to seed them based on their danger factor, which is higher than lower. And I think 3 seed makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I had them eighth overall, so it's not like I had them at the top of the two line or that I had them way, way, way off from where we ultimately put them. But I mean, I did factor that in. And when you factor in that really their losses were high I mean those are the types of games that you almost forgive one seeds for. Now granted, they had a lot of them and there were a couple, Arkansas and UCF in particular, but I mean the how many teams like have two wins against number one seed caliber teams away from home and aren't a one themselves? That's pretty high. That tops out really high. Texas Tech.
Mhm. Uh,
And I forgot to write that damn game up on Saturday, so I felt bad for them there.
Mike, number 12 overall, our last of our 3 seeds. How about the Florida Gators?
Yeah, I actually had Florida 11, Texas Tech 12, so this falls about in line. Florida's red hot. I mean, they're defending champions, and it's like they've kind of been under the radar. I mean, for good reason, and but don't overlook last year's champs. Let's see, I'm just checking their profile here. They're hot. They've got wins on the road at Vanderbilt, at Georgia, wins over Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, a neutral court win over Miami. So they've got a lot of good wins. They got 8 wins in Tier 1, and not many teams can say that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm there. This Florida team has been one of the hottest teams in the nation uh, last couple months here.
Yeah, they
Uh,
have.
Matt, let's start off the 4 line. Number 13 overall. There's the Zags. Maybe righted the ship a little bit with that huge win last night at Santa Clara.
Yeah, that's what like I was really trying to get them up to the 3 line, but then I'm looking at the other teams there, you couldn't. But man, like and that this they're definitely I think the top of the 4 line right now at a strong overall profile still. And that was a big win over I think a Santa Clara team I think who's still should be in our field and that it'll be closer now, but like are still a tournament level team for me in that. And that
They just got to find a way to beat Portland. They have to play one more time still this season.
well, yeah, that's one there. They need to get some revenge in the fixture, and I think, plus, you can make that spread Gonzaga -40. And I think I'm still taking Gonzaga to cover. There'll be some revenge, I think, in that game.
Rocco, you going to be there this week at San Francisco?
No, the
Uh,
Dons. I mean, I could go for sure. I'm so devastated by the performance against the Beavers. We'll save that for tomorrow. But it was the worst game I've ever seen the Dons play in that building, and the over decade I've lived here. It was too much to stomach, Chad.
I, I hear you there.
They're
It
not
was a
giving up
disaster. The game was a disaster.
they're not giving up basketball in March for Lent, are they?
They might, if there's a
Might
year for
maybe
that,
not
it
by
could be the
choice,
year.
but yeah.
It could be the year. Although they beat San Diego today, so who knows?
Aren't they
Titel, I
playing
don't
at
think
the
they're.
Chase Center pretty soon?
Yeah, that's that game that Chad brought up
Yeah, it's
Wednesday.
coming up Wednesday. Yeah, Titel, number 14 overall in the Midwest region there. Michigan State, who that is a legal potential regional semifinal against Michigan because of the number of times they play this season.
Sparty certainly has some questionable losses this year, mostly at Minnesota, frankly, it stands out, but they just beat Illinois, albeit shorthanded without Kylan Boswell. They got plenty of wins in non-conference play, Arkansas, Kentucky, North Carolina. So I think this is good. My question for you or Mike or anybody, have Michigan State and Michigan ever met in the tournament?
Not that I remember.
I don't think they have.
I don't think they have.
If this bracket had played out, it's possible. I mean, obviously, they both have to get 2 wins to get there.
So they're what, 60 miles apart, I think?
Not 65, 66,
Yeah.
maybe 70 at the most.
Yeah. Stalika, number 15 overall. How about our second SEC team? We got two SEC teams into the protected seats here. Vanderbilt.
Yeah, we get the hot and cold Commodores right here. They've recently coming off of win against Texas A&M, which has put the Aggies in a tailspin. They've also gotten a road win at Auburn, which is also putting the Tigers perilously close to the bubble. So Vanderbilt taking care of their business, but no longer the top dog because Florida is starting to run away with the SEC. But at the same time, Vandy's still going to have more chances to try to creep up the seed list with Tennessee. Well, 2 games against Tennessee and Kentucky is probably their biggest three, and Missouri and Georgia are going to be other teams going to be fighting for their own tournament lives at this point.
That is not an easy schedule the rest of the way. It's you're not talking about a protected seat teams you're playing, but you're talking about playing a lot of quality teams and a lot of road games there.
Yeah.
And even Ole Miss is going to be a potential spoiler lurking in March.
Yeah, at Kentucky. I like Missouri, Kentucky, at Tennessee. If they can get just one of those, I'll be impressed. Those are hard places to win.
Where are we at? Rocco, our last of our protected seeds, our last of our number 4 seeds. How about Virginia just sneak it in there?
Yeah, that's where I landed too. It was a tough call between them and Alabama. I think you can make a strong case for both. Just with all the clouds around Alabama, I thought that was an easy way to break the tie because I'm just trying to guess the committee. So go Virginia. Congrats, Joby.
Virginia's good. Yeah, that's a good profile.
Yeah, I mean they're neck and neck, them and Alabama.
Yeah.
You can slice it a bunch of ways, and
And
I mean the top 2 Alabama wins are better than Virginia's wins, but Virginia's collection of wins are better.
yeah, and Louisville, while they're certainly not a protected seed, I think that's their only home loss. Or no, did Duke get them there too? They don't. They're hard. It's hard to win at Louisville, and they did it. So
Yeah, one thing you throw
It
out
is.
there also, Alabama has 7 overall losses, Virginia only
Yeah.
3.
yeah,
That helps.
But
and
again, you look at
Texas,
Alabama's losses.
Alabama plays everybody.
Four that were top 10 teams, 5 that were top 15 teams. That's
Yeah.
wild.
There's also, yeah,
Go ahead.
Alabama's got personnel issues, and
Mhm.
it's just easier to have them lose the tiebreaker, in my opinion.
Right. Well, we don't. Just what my understanding is that the committee is not going to hold the fact that they had Bediako play those games against them, but they want to see how they play without him.
And
The
there's
test
plenty
so
of
And they've
far-
only played.
They only
they've
had
only
them
played
for
South
3
Carolina, right?
Yeah. They
Well,
only had
plus
them
the whole
for-
beginning of the season before he started playing,
Yeah.
so you can throw that
Yeah.
in there too.
True. Yeah. Now that Wrightsell did come back, that does help.
But that they have Arkansas home, they have at Tennessee, they have at Georgia, so they have chances to
Auburn.
show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's go ahead and we're going to go 1 seed line time. Matt, let me bring you back in here for all 4 of the 5 seeds. We've got on this line St. John's, Alabama, Arkansas, and North Carolina. You like it, you don't like it.
Good line.
Yeah, I generally like it. It's one North Carolina is one where they almost could be an argument for the Final Four seed if Caleb Wilson, the best player, isn't out for the year. And then we haven't seen much. They've only had Pitt at home since then. But like, I place him as a 5 seed for now. But unfortunately, I think they're actually going to probably fall a couple of seed lines because they didn't have a real deep rotation big with us at begin with, and he's really, really good. Like, we'll go top 5 to 7 in the NBA draft. Good. And played like that as a collegiate, was playing like an All-American as a collegiate as well. So wasn't just had potential to get Jeff that high. He was a very good real life college player as well.
And not an easy schedule the rest of the way. They still have to play at NC State, at Duke. They still got to play Louisville and Clemson one more time each. So
And they'll be getting Louisville is now healthy, who they haven't been for part of the year. That's why, like, I actually wouldn't have minded Louisville on this line instead, maybe St. John's. But
I'm not. Yeah, I like Louisville, but not that much.
yeah, Rocco, you've had Carolina line lower. Is it because of the injury?
No, I
You
just
don't like
think there's other teams that are more dangerous, in my opinion. Now I know the win at Virginia was really good, and
It was
and
real good. Yeah.
the win at Rupp was really good, but I saw them, get beat by both these Bay Area teams, and it was like, all right, these guys can't defend anything, and you have to compare them to teams like St. John's and Tennessee. I just think those teams are better.
Okay.
And then you
Fair
have a
enough.
team like St. John's who is literally fighting for the top four lines here.
yeah,
Oh,
Mhm.
And Louisville's lost. They haven't played Carolina, right? They play later.
yeah,
So
they haven't
They
played
play
yet.
the 23rd. Yeah.
yeah, and Louisville's just I don't know. I mean, they're like 10 spots higher in so many of the power numbers. It's just hard to put Carolina above them for me.
Yeah. Louisville, number 12 in the net. We have not yet put them in our field. But Tytel, maybe we could remedy that on the sixth line here, where we've got St. Louis, Louisville, Tennessee, and BYU.
So the injury news today for BYU is that one of their best players, not their best with AJ there, but one of their best, Richie Saunders, is done for the year with a torn ACL, and sadly, I believe done for his career as he was a senior. So very tough sledding and very tough news. Um, as far as the rest of this line, I agree with Matt. Louisville, I'm telling you, like I know the puppet doesn't like him, but like most of their losses are without Mikel Brown Jr. And as we saw when he's healthy, he's capable of scoring
Yeah.
45 a game. So
Okay.
like it's a serious freaking injury. And now that he's healthy, they're going to win a lot of freaking games.
Okay, I had them at 26, so it's not like I have them astronomically lower than this. I mean, they're within a seed line, so I had them within about 4 spots. And when I look at them, it's just they just haven't done quite as much away from home. They haven't beaten anyone in the top half of the bracket away from home.
Guess why?
Well,
They're missing a guy who can score 45.
okay, and it now if they get out there and beat North Carolina and Clemson and like if they win one or two of those, yeah, I'm going to be right there with you.
Four tough road games left on that schedule, so we will definitely
Yeah.
see. Sleek, I got to ask you about Tennessee, who's also on this line. You would have had them lower. You don't like them that much?
I still think this is a team that while they do have a nice collection of wins that are probably making the field, they've also been a little bit iffy at times. They've not been the best team away from home. They are starting to remedy that, and granted, they did get the win against Alabama when they had Bediako. Now, I'm probably overvaluing BYU and Clemson to justify having Tennessee on my 7 line.
Okay, fair enough. Should we give a brief discussion here of the St. Louis profile also?
Yeah, sure.
Let me pull this up here on the left. Was that you, Mike? You got thoughts on this? It's a only
Yeah,
one loss,
let's-
a couple of quad one wins, but
Yeah, I had him as the last sixth seed, and this is about right. I just think that because of the schedule they've played and going forward, that I think this is about their ceiling. I just don't see them getting much above six. I mean, and it's no fault of their own, but it's just that, in the Atlantic 10, you're just not going to have the opportunity to pick up star wins.
And I think history, while there isn't a whole lot of recent history here, I think Mike might be right. I forget. I want to say George Washington one year was way up in the rankings and had a big bloated record, and they were a 6 or a 7. Murray
They were an
State,
8 seed in
Oh,
2006, if that's
yeah,
what you're thinking.
that's what I am thinking. A little more recently, while the Ohio Valley probably wasn't as strong as the A10 is this year, we saw Murray State get ranked fairly high, I think into the teens, and I think they were a 7 seed. 6, 7 seems to be where a team like this typically lands. And again, you don't have multiple examples of it year after year after year, but it just seems like that's about where they land. And
Now, I was going to say, another reason I remember that GW team was because they actually ran the table in the regular season in the A10 and promptly lost their opener against Temple when the A10 tournament was completely upside down that
that's
year.
right. But George Washington only got an 8 that year. Weren't they ranked 6th in the nation and I think they only lost like 2 games. Wow.
We don't have their profile for at the moment, but let's go on to the
Yeah.
7 line here. Rocco, 4 interesting teams I think on the 7 line here: Kentucky, Clemson, Villanova, and Wisconsin. And how about the week for some of these teams here?
Well, Wisconsin, obviously the big
Yeah.
week.
Yep.
Shape-shifting win once again at Illinois. Controversial if you ask Brad Underwood, but the Badgers say screw that, we got it. And I think, Villanova, I've been impressed with their consistency. They're playing a lot of games right now in the Big East where if any slip-ups, it'll probably cost them a couple seed lines in that league. So I've been really remarkably impressed. Just they are talented, but with the staff being new and all the Willard stuff last year, it doesn't seem to matter. They're just handling their business. So arrow up for them in my book. And then, yeah, I was really torn on that last spot between Clemson or Utah State. I don't think there's a wrong answer. Clemson's had the opportunity to get better wins than Utah State, but Utah State's had to be, so consistently good. I don't know if there's a wrong answer. Power numbers definitely love the Aggies. I think the resume numbers slightly like Clemson, so it's pretty close.
Yeah, just a little sour taste in my mouth still from that home loss to Va Tech for Clemson.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that was
Person-
one they
that
sort of
was part of
blew.
my punishment as well on the
Mhm.
Tigers. Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Well, you know what it
it
came
did.
from? I actually have an explanation. They came back from the West and they didn't have their legs back. That was their first game back from the West. Happened like 4 times last year.
So they
Yeah,
got that. They got the Cal Stanford sweep, but
Yeah.
couldn't come back home and win a
We
game.
couldn't
Yeah.
come back on. They
Yeah,
wore
and-
themselves
and-
out. Yeah.
all the teams I talk to say that's the hardest game is the game you get back, not the ones when you're in the West. So we'll see if the committee agrees.
Matt, how about the 8 line here? We've got Miami all the way up to an 8 seed off of that
Wow.
win at
Yeah.
fellow 8 seeder NC State, Utah State, who we just discussed, at Iowa.
Yeah, that's what I think puts with there are a couple of these. I think Utah State, Iowa, and actually 3 of the 4 NC State are fairly solidly in here. The last one, you probably had to find someone, so I can see why Miami riding that recent streak with that win at NC State jumps up because it's fairly jumbled. And then we all probably have a team or two that you really like here, or relatively like. And then mine is actually St. Mary's. Like I know I'm way on the minority on some of that, but like you had to put someone there, so like Miami's not a terrible selection. The other thing I think are really definitely solidly above them though. Although Iowa fading a little bit.
Yeah, Ty, you've had Miami a couple seed lines lower than this, actually. Yeah, are we all overvaluing that win at NC State?
Yes, but I mean, if everybody's going to do it, I certainly am not going to veto. And I like they got plenty of wins. I mean, they beat Georgetown for God's sake, Chad. Like, let's put them as a protected seed. But no, they're a solid team. I still think they'd lose to Utah State since you have those 2 up, but we'll see.
Yeah, the other 2 teams here, Mike, we got another Big Ten team here, Iowa as well. One of those teams that also with one of those profiles that you just tried to figure out, I think, still.
Yeah, they've been kind of struggling lately. I mean, it's one thing to lose to Purdue, but they lost really badly at home, and that's kind of a red flag. It's not the losing, but losing by 21 at home. They've been kind of backsliding, and then the loss to
I
Maryland.
think the game
That's the
before that
black
was
eye.
the one, yeah.
Yeah. That's the black eye. They're kind of sliding, but for now they're still in the upper half of the bracket. But I see here their upcoming schedule. There's no easy games there. I mean,
Oh, no.
Even at Penn State is not a gimme. Penn State is tough at home. There's no easy games coming up.
Well, especially because it's kind of sandwiched right in between this strong run of like, I guess Ohio State at home isn't horrible, but man, you got two against Nebraska, at Wisconsin, and then Michigan, and there's at Penn State. Like that right there, that screams trap game.
Right.
Yeah, this could be a danger zone for Iowa here these next couple of weeks. That this team could just fall off the map entirely,
Yeah.
or solidify their position.
Yeah.
Either way.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the Venmo rivalry series logo when Iowa matches up against Nebraska.
Griggs, let me let you take a look here at the 9 line here. Our first potential first round matchups. Miami gets St. Mary's, NC State gets UCF, Utah State gets A&M, Iowa gets SMU. Your thoughts on those 4 teams?
I'm not quite as high on SMU, I guess, as everyone else is. I just don't see it. And St. Mary's, I had them at the bottom of the 9 line, but in looking at them more and more, it's just sort of a lot of empty calories on the profile. If I'm being honest, I thought their win last night at a place. I thought that while they weren't playing a tournament caliber team, Pacific has been very good at home this year, and they've beaten a lot of good teams at home. And that win kind of impressed me. And I'm like, well, that's a 9 seed caliber win. I think a lot of teams that are inside the bubble might be better than Pacific, but they might not be good enough to beat Pacific at Pacific. And I just thought it was an impressive showing. Maybe I'm overvaluing it a little bit, but if you want to know why I would have had St. Mary's around the 10 or 11, but after that, I moved them up.
I want to ask Rock about St. Mary's, and I'll give my personal take on St. Mary's first, though. I had St. Mary's in the first 4. And my problem with them, maybe Rocco, you can talk me out of this, is they haven't beaten anybody in the field. They have no quad one wins. I don't think it. I think it's slightly better than Miami of Ohio's profile, and that's about all I got on them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. It's hard to say that for me because I see them a lot, and I'll be
Mhm.
seeing them a lot more as the season finishes. Probably be at their last 4 games as long as they make the finals. I mean, they're a little younger, but they're still just as dominant. They don't slip up ever. They have a collection of 13 wins between 2B and Quad 3, and then 2 wins at the top of Quad 2. That's a hell of a lot more than Miami, Ohio. And those, they went out and bought Florida Atlantic, Northern Iowa, St. Thomas. They played Arkansas State, North Texas, Wichita State in that tournament, Virginia Tech. I mean, they crush all those teams. Again, I just think the average team would at least slip up a couple times. They did lose a 1 point game in Idaho Falls again to Boise State, the annual tradition. But besides that, besides getting blown out by Vanderbilt, I think they've been really consistent and more impressive than a lot of the muck. I think every team we're going to talk about from here on out either had a horrible weekend this weekend or is trying to come from the ashes. St. Mary's has been here the whole time.
Yeah,
Uh,
look at St. Mary's numbers. I'd say, look, 34 in the WAB, 34 in the KPI, 35 strength of record. Joby, well, pay. It's an awesome prediction metric. It's more of a prediction metric, I think, than an actual pure resume based one. And then in the 30s in all three. So this right here, 8-9 seed. That's all the
Yeah.
numbers say 8-9 seed.
Yeah, I guess these last 4 games, I think they got to win 3 out of 4, because you got to win this road
Yes.
trip to Washington, and you've got to split Santa Clara Gonzaga, because you probably got to beat Santa Clara before the Zags beat you.
If they're a 9 seed, they should beat Santa Clara at home because Santa Clara is not a 9 seed, and they're at home. They should win that game.
Yeah, it becomes a real interesting, I think, St. Mary's profile if they do get these 2 wins, but then they lose both those home games to Santa Clara and Gonzaga. That could be serious. They may need to win the West Coast Conference tournament then.
They could beat Santa Clara in the semifinals on a
Yeah.
neutral court at least. But yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
But I'm
But
just
that
saying,
becomes you lost 2 out of 3 to Santa Clara.
Yeah.
So
I
I guess
don't know.
I have trouble putting them ahead of Santa Clara is my problem.
But Rocco,
Oh,
one of
interesting.
my statements, this is just sort of like an Elo chess argument that if you are inside the bubble, even if you're not in the top half of it, you need to beat teams that are not inside the bubble when you're at home. Santa Clara is right on it. St. Mary's needs to win that game.
Yep, that's fair. I mean, it's their home game for sure.
Yeah.
And they should win it. I'm
Yeah.
expecting them to win it. I mean, it's St. Mary's against Santa Clara. It never, rarely ever happens.
Ty, let me go to you for the 10 line here. Potential first round opponents again. Kentucky gets Miami, Ohio. Clemson gets
Oh,
Indiana.
yeah.
Villanova gets Auburn, and Wisconsin against Texas.
Man, I do like Miami here. I don't love them matching up against Kentucky only because, like, I don't think they'll have the best player because I'd give that to Owe. I don't think they'll have the size at all compared to guys like all the big guys Kentucky has, like Malachi Moreno. They're 7 foot freshmen. Um, Yikes. Um, Wisconsin, Texas is a tough one just because, as you pointed out earlier, like Wisconsin's top of the resume hangs with anybody because somehow they rise to the occasion. But Sean Miller, like, will not let his team die, and like he's got a decent track record in March, so like
What
that
a
would be a
win
very
on
interesting
Saturday
game, I
for
think.
them. Wow.
Well, the
Going
thing is, Wisconsin usually haunted Arizona when Sean Miller was there. I would be more than
Preach.
happy to see them haunt them one more time at least.
yeah.
Yeah, Greg George, Texas coming off that blowout win at Missouri, which really I'm finally sold that Texas is a tournament team. I've been like the last person on board the Texas bandwagon, but I'm there with you.
I mean, that was just a really impressive win against the Missouri team that has been playing, I thought, really well. Going back to this, I need to veto something here, Chad.
Yeah.
You need to switch Miami and Indiana so we can have Kentucky and Indiana.
Oh,
They already played each other.
They-
I don't
they-
care. I don't care. It's
It's a
Kentucky and Indiana.
if you can avoid it, you're supposed to avoid it. And that was my original match.
we can't avoid it. It's Kentucky and Indiana.
No, what you really need to do is do a Miami and St. Mary swap so we can have Miami and Mother Miami in Buffalo.
Hey, we're close to that. We're getting close.
Yeah.
I think Miami, Ohio has to go undefeated through the MAC tournament to get to the 9 line, but
Yeah.
may still not get there, but
Yeah.
maybe
You're better off rooting for the Hurricanes getting to a 6.
or
Yeah.
7, maybe a 7-10 or 6-11. Yeah. Matt, let me ask you about one other team on this line, Auburn. Wow, 11 losses, 8-11 against the top 3 quadrants.
Ugh.
Talk about teams going in the wrong direction fast.
They're only
Yeah,
three
they-
above
they-
500. That's dangerous.
yeah, they need to start winning. Like, I actually still had them even like I don't love the 8-11, but like their schedule is so good. Like, this actually might be a really close comparison to that 2001 Georgia team that got in at 16 and 14 and was a 9 seed. So like, I think it should have been in. So like, this is like if you're looking for like a historical comparison, you gotta go back a little ways. But like, this is where Auburn I think should be in and actually still should be avoiding Dayton just because man, like. That's such a good schedule. They've done enough at Florida versus St. John's, a couple other Arkansas, and NC State. Like basically all teams we have in the top half of the bracket, 2 of those away from home.
Yeah, and out
It-
of
it-
conference, you're talking about Michigan, Arizona, Houston, Purdue, Vandy. How many Vandy's not out of conference, excuse me, but how many out of conference games against protected seeds can you play? I mean,
Yeah, but we throw it. I mean, first of all, number 1 strength of schedule in the entire nation overall. Number 13 non-conference, amazing. Rocco, the 8-11 versus top 3 tiers would have been a disqualifier until we saw what happened with Texas last year. But I guess the good news for them is they've got a all things considered, a fairly easy schedule. They got a lot of non-tournament teams that can help. That'll be quad 2 and quad 3 wins if they can get those games.
Right. Yeah, and I would say you look at the 11 teams, 10 of them are probably in. If, Georgia or Missouri are out, they're barely out. So you can say all 11 are tournament level losses.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, you don't like that record. I'm encouraged by the future schedule, though, Chad. 4 of the last 6 are non-tournament teams. And so that should all balance out one way or the other. They're either going to play themselves off the cliff or they're going to safely play their way back in.
Yeah, and those 4 games at Mississippi State, at Oklahoma, home Ole Miss, home LSU. I think they're all 4 must wins at this point.
Yeah, now if they get them, they'll have a nice, a little prettier record for us to
I think
digest.
4-2 down the stretch, they're fine.
Let's go, Stalika. Yes, you bet the first 2 teams on the 11 line, 2 teams that avoid Dayton, Georgia sneaking in there still, and USC.
Georgia is another team like Auburn. If you want to talk about their oldest rival in the SEC, this is another team that's headed in the wrong direction, and they've probably had a lot more losses than their two-game losing streak is going to indicate. Their win in Missouri, along with Auburn and Arkansas wins, may be the one thing that's barely keeping the dogs in the field right here. And then you look at USC, who's probably even on shakier ground since they've got more losses against non-tournament teams at this point.
Yeah, Titel, you look at them though. Georgia only 8 wins against the top 3 tiers. USC 13. I personally think I disagree with this league. I like USC's profile better than Georgia's right now.
With the X factor being Elijah Arenas, the McDonald's All-American missed the first 2 months of the season due to being in an induced coma and then breaking his leg. He's been back for 7 games. They've only won 4 of those 7, but he's scored at least 24 points in each of the past 3 games. He's a projected lottery pick, so it's like adding a guy like Bediako in the middle of the season, only it's better because 1, like, he's still eligible, and 2, like, he's better. He's scoring like 25 a game.
Well, I think this will probably be repeated tomorrow night, but where Georgia did get off to a good start against Oklahoma, Oklahoma literally caught fire in the Lloyd Noble Center. If you want to talk about their popcorn stand, fire after the first media timeout.
I fortunately no one was hurt and we're laughing about it, but my God, what a scene.
I'll tell you what was hurt in that game is this Georgia profile though, Griggs. Yes, it was a road game, but you couldn't afford to get blown out by Oklahoma when you're fighting for a spot.
You can't. It is a road game, but like another thing that I always say is that to be inside the bubble, you have to be able to win games that are hard to win, and you need to be able to win that one.
Let's go ahead and start looking at some of the first 4 teams, and I'll throw up here the first of the first 4 matchups, the top 2 first 4 teams. Mike, UCLA and Missouri. So there we go. We did get both Georgia and Missouri in, as Rocco was talking about.
Yeah, this sounds about right. I mean, I did have, let's see, I'm checking. I did have UCLA. I did have both teams in that first 4 area. So this is about right. They're just, although I think if I remember correctly, Missouri they're surging a little bit. They did get a nice win over the weekend.
No, they did not.
Oh, they did not.
Got rolled by
okay.
Texas.
Okay, I have.
They won at A&M during the week though, so they did get a nice win in the past week. Yes.
Okay, that helped them. UCLA, I know that they lost by 30 to Michigan yesterday. That's again, is losing at Michigan's not bad, but losing by 30 is, and that's that has to be considered too. And they just when I saw them play, it's like they just look like a team that's going to struggle to make the NCAA tournament.
Well, the best part about what Michigan did is it treated us to some more Mick Cronin post-game theater.
Yeah.
Matt, with UCLA, USC, we just barely avoided the first 4. UCLA in the first 4. They got to play each other twice still.
Yeah, and I think I actually looked at them back to back. They're very similar in my seed list to where I took UCLA's 2 Q1 wins to 1, but they'll solve each other out. And like, I wouldn't be shocked if they end up both being in dated because they feel very dated-ish.
Yeah, very bubble-licious games right there. Yeah. The home and home against USC.
Yeah, those are always fun anyway.
Oh, but I said last week UCLA's got a tough stretch. I mean, Michigan State on Tuesday, then Illinois. Very tough stretch there.
How about St. Louis and Mizzou maybe matching
up?
Oh man.
Yeah, they used to play. They used to play regularly. They haven't for a while. It's been over 10 years, I think, since they.
Rocco, our last 2 teams that made the field, BYU's first round opponent, the winner of a game, Santa Clara and San Diego State. How about some West Coast love here in the first 4?
We got to get this pod out to the West Coast. Get out of Greenville. I don't know why Nebraska's going there. But anyway, that'll be fun. Let's get them in, obviously, to match them up. I don't know how much national attention it would get, but when you have 3 California teams going to Dayton, you have to have 2 of them play each other, right, Chad?
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not even against the rules there. None of these 3 teams are in the same conference.
Oh no, I'm not saying the rules, but we know
we got to get them
their
playing.
Television ratings in these games. Yeah. So
they would be about what they normally are between the first 4. It doesn't rate well. It normally draws between 3 and 5 million. It's a fraction of what the round of 64 gets. That's about what it would get.
Just a quick technicality on placement of the first 4 games. First 4 games are supposed the winner of the first 4 games is supposed to go to the city not closest to where this school actually is, but closest to Dayton. So that's why Santa Clara San Diego State winner goes to Greenville and not San Diego, if that was possible. I think it would have been. Besides USC going to San Diego anyhow would be the higher rated team. Before we get to the rest of the field, though, let's take a look at the top 4 teams out. And just a quick note here, the very top team out was razor thin with San Diego State, whether they were going to make it. And there was a huge drop off below that, believe it or not. So right now, I mean, between all of us, we really were focusing in on everybody on the board and one other team. That team was TCU, actually. And Stalika, how close is this TCU team right now?
TCU is a team I probably would have had as my second to last team, and I think Virginia Tech would have been a team where I would have really held my nose, but probably would have had them in my own field. TCU, the Horned Frogs, have now won 3 straight games themselves. They get the sweep of Oklahoma State. They also beat K-State, but the Iowa State win is far more significant because the Horned Frogs were a little bit underwater after, I guess, their 4 wins that were against teams outside the field. When you look at Colorado, Utah, Notre Dame, and New Orleans, and now you look at a team that's not quite as underwater when you look at 3 wins against the field, but -1 is going to be a lot less, and their top 3 tiers are going to be a little more palatable compared to Texas from last year.
I had them. I gotta say, I had them in my field and actually inside my first 4. And the warts are obvious. I mean, the loss to New Orleans, you're kind of holding your nose. Notre Dame is spectacular. Couldn't get that one. But Michigan, Arizona, Houston, at Kansas, at BYU. I mean, these are not exactly like. I mean, it's not like they're losing to mid-level conference teams. And I just think they top out a lot better than the bubble. The neutral win against Florida, the neutral win against Arizona, at Baylor, while Baylor's not inside
There's no neutral when it gets Arizona. It's neutral when it gets Wisconsin.
I said Wisconsin. I said go back and delete.
I think that loss at Utah is probably going to haunt more than anything at this point because the Utes may not win another game in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, and some of the God, you want to talk about like just poking yourself in the eye. The lead they blew at Kansas is still got us smart. Was it 7 points with 19 seconds to go or something like that? Or was it not? No, it was 9 with a minute to go. And losing that one.
I got to ask you about them also here. They got one of the weirder profiles. There is an entry for a win or a loss in all 4 quadrants. Very few teams could do that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's unprecedented, but very rare. And you talk, I mean, football, they talk about it being a game of inches. College basketball is a game of points. You look at those bottom 3 games, 3 points, 2 points in overtime, 4 points. If they scored 10 points and win all those 3, this isn't just a bubble team. This team is in the field, I think.
Oh, they're probably maybe white in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, very favorable schedule down the stretch here, though, I think. So they've got a real shot to play themselves in. Especially if you want to say that they've already got the quality at the top, they just need quantity of wins. What about these other 3 teams here? Mike, New Mexico, Vodtech, New Mexico, and Cal especially. I think a couple of you actually had Cal in your field. You might have been one of them, or maybe Stalika. That was Stalika.
I'm just trying to think here. No, I had California as one of the teams considered. I actually had Ohio State as one of the last 4 out, but I don't have a problem here because it's basically, garbage on garbage. Cal still, that's a team that deserves consideration. Okay, let's look there. Winning at Miami is nice. They have the win against North Carolina, wins against a bubble team in UCLA. And when I look at the rest of the schedule, it's very winnable. They can't afford to lose any of those games. I mean, if they can beat SMU, that's a quality win. The challenge of playing Georgia Tech, Wake Forest is that they've got to fly across the country and play those games on the road. But still, when I look at the rest of the schedule for the Cal Golden Bears, it's very doable.
Well, the good news for California is once they finish those games against Tech and Wake Forest, they can pretty much stay in the East Coast for the ACC tournament. They don't have to fly back to California this time around.
Good point. And I would note here that these East trips are tough. They just split that trip at Syracuse at Boston College they had this week. They really could have used that win at Syracuse. Really
Yes.
could have used it. Double
But to
overtime
answer,
loss.
but to answer Chad's question from earlier, yes, I did have Cal at number 44. This was another team that I was willing to hold my breath because I didn't want to put New Mexico and San Diego State in the field yet because I don't see where they have any wins of significance unless you're potentially talking about against each other, which is not good enough if you're outside the cut line.
Yeah. Rocco, a few of the teams that got some consideration: Ohio State, VCU,
No!
West Virginia, Seton Hall, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Stanford. Any of these that you see as being ready to make a move at the field?
Well, we discussed West Virginia. I
Yeah.
just think the remaining path for them is mostly mild. If they can get that BYU home win, maybe it's enough because they do have a road UCF. I have a gut feeling that UCF is a candidate to fall off the cliff by the end. And so that road win might not mean as much as it does right this second. And so they're going to just keep having to chip away. At TCU could be big. The problem is we saw TCU win at Oklahoma State last week. The problem is when two bubble teams that are both out, one of them just falls further out, the other one doesn't move that much. We saw that with that game. That could happen again when West Virginia plays TCU. So all these bubble warriors with West Virginia's schedule are all coming up. So if they're clearly the best team of those four, it should be enough juice to get them through. That's an interesting one, and obviously VCU's is so unique. But I really just don't think they can get in without that St. Louis win on the 20th, which is this coming week.
Friday night, the national TV
Yeah.
game. That is circle that one. That
Massive
is
game there.
VCU's shot and probably lock St. Louis into the field if they get that one.
Mhm.
Let's go through the rest
Right.
of the
Right.
field real quick here. First of all, the 12 line. A few of these teams on the 12 line actually got some consideration for on people's top 55s. South Florida, Belmont, and Liberty. Also, Stephen F. Austin there on the line. I Tytel, is there any juice for a team like South Florida to potentially, if they went out to the American title game, to get some at-large consideration if they don't get that auto bid?
I don't see it, Chad. I think that they're just starting too far down the bracket to do that. They're 18-8, losses to UAB, Temple, a bunch of teams outside the top 100, and not a lot of games left against teams inside the top 100. Feel free to disagree with me, Rocco. I just don't see it.
Yeah, not South Florida, but I'm looking at a different team. I'm looking at a possible Liberty going 20-0 in
Yeah.
Conference USA. And I got a call from their head coach this morning about this. And they're already 53 in WAB, and I think if they get to 20-0, they've got a shot to crack the top 40. I don't know if they will. All we know so far, there's only been 1 year of WAB on the team sheet. All 40 in the top 40 got in last year. So it could be interesting, but they would have a hell of a case to run the table in a league like Conference USA where they just went 2,000 miles away to beat both New Mexico State and UTEP. Just the difficulty of the travel in this league, you would hope would get somebody in that selection committee room's attention because what they've done is remarkable.
They're supposed to monitor that too. I mean,
They are.
that is one of the things that they look at.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Rocco. I think if they win out, they're going to get.
There's
I
gonna be
think
an
they're going to get
argument.
selected.
The NC State game too, Colin Porter was out. Obviously, they lost by 40. It doesn't look good, but their Porter runs their offense. He missed that game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll throw
but-
this out there. They would be number one. They would be 30-4 there. I think what kind of makes you hold your nose a little bit is kind of a fake 30-4. There were 3 non-D1 games, so it's really
they're
a 27-4,
as
which
far as
is
the committees. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I told him I don't think they would get in, but
Yeah.
with the WAB in play, we'll see how much they can add on to what they got so far.
I guess what I was throwing in there, if instead of playing those 3 non-D1 games, they had played 3 more MEAC teams, it might be enough to push them over. Just because it'll be
No.
30 true wins. I think they'd have a
Oh,
trouble
'cause the
leaving it
win total,
30
the win
30
total.
true wins out would be really
That's
tough
too
to leave
expensive,
out.
Chad. Each of those MEAC games are like 90 grand. They're not like it just sucks for mid majors.
Well,
Can't play
yeah,
those
but
games.
I mean, they could have.
They afforded a couple of them.
You know
Play-
who they
play-
could
play
have
one
played
on
was
the road.
Miami, Ohio. Like,
They could have played one of them on the road. I think I bet Coppin State would have given them $100 to come play there.
Coppin State's not answering the phone for anything less than 120, Chad.
No, to go
No.
to Coppin State.
Oh, two. Okay, now we're talking.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that would have boosted their road wins. They could have played Miami. They could have played McNeese. I mean, there's a number
Yale
of
played
teams that are.
Howard. Yale went to Howard.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yale did go to Howard. They could have played Yale.
That would have been
The
lovely.
13 line here, Matt, we've got Michigan State gets that Yale team we just mentioned. Vanderbilt gets High Point. Gonzaga gets California Baptist. Virginia gets UNC Wilmington.
I said that Vanderbilt High Point game would be a fun game, and I think Vandy would come out, but that'd be a fun game. Like Vandy's had some history in the 314, 413 range in the past, but I think a new coach and then I think they're actually real solid, especially if they get Duke Miles back. But well, I think should be back at some point before the end of the year. Whereas I think poor Frankie Collins might be done for.
Duke Miles against his old team, High Point.
Yeah,
Yes.
look at that.
How about that?
Uh,
I have a feeling California Baptist would probably prefer San Diego, but I think one of the other problems is Riverside is not that far from San Diego and could potentially be a home court disadvantage for a 3
Yeah.
seed.
Right.
yeah, we have to check that. Titel, on the 14 line, we've got Navy who gets Florida, Portland State who gets Kansas, Hawaii who gets Texas Tech, Austin P who gets Nebraska. I don't know that I'm seeing an upset there, are you?
I'm not, but I'm just happy to get Navy a little pub. This is one of the best seasons in school history, a long history, well over a century of basketball. David Robinson is not walking back through that door, unfortunately, but this team with this record and owning the Patriot League, they deserve a lot of credit because this is one of the best seasons in school history.
Griggs, the 15 line, Iowa State gets North Dakota State, Illinois gets South Alabama, the leader du jour in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
Purdue gets East Tennessee State, and Houston gets Tennessee Martin.
North Dakota State's a fun team to watch. That's a fun league. They would be very overmatched in that game, but it would be fun to get to see them play in the tournament. South Alabama returns. Yeah. Thanks for playing
Yeah.
for the rest of them.
And Mike, because you're the Michigan guy, your team would get Wright State in
Woo-hoo!
Buffalo there. Duke would get the winner of a Merrimack UMBC game. Arizona would get Long Island. UConn would get the winner of a Bethune-Cookman Morgan State game. And how about Morgan State still in first place in the MEAC? Although, honestly, it was for tragic
Wright State to
circumstance.
Buffalo's not that far, so they'll have their share of fans making the short
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah,
Dayton,
quick,
Ohio.
quick note on Morgan State. They're actually still in first place, obviously, for the tragic shooting that happened down at South Carolina State. Ended up their game this weekend ended up getting postponed. Had they lost it, they probably would not be in first place, but they will play that in a couple of weeks. On that note, though, let's go ahead and run through final thoughts from each of you on anything and everything you see here on the screen or anything else you want to discuss. Let me start with let's start with Matt.
All right, so we're looking here at the bottom of the bracket and the fact that unfortunately expansions could probably happen next year, even though it really does not need to happen. But if and when it does, please get some teams. Yeah, like we mentioned, like if Liberty loses their conference tournament, VCU, Belmont, like we need something like these are enough of these major conference teams getting it as is, and they have probably argued to occupy these next ones at 72 or 76 or 4 to 8 extra at-large spots. But man, get at least a couple of these mid-major or quasi mid-major A10s, kind of a borderline conference for that. But like, I want to see that, like, let's say Liberty blowing through a Conference USA, Belmont blowing through the Valley. If they stub their toe in the conference tournament, I want to see at least a couple of those teams in these games, and not the 10th SEC team against the 11th Big Ten team or the 9th Big 12 team against the 7th Big East team. And that, please let me see some other teams to like at least make these games somewhat watchable.
Yeah, Stalika.
One of the things that Chad touched on earlier, even though Michigan and Michigan State play each other twice, this could potentially be a permissible matchup in the Sweet 16 this year because Chad had shared to us some of the updated rules and procedures for the selection committee this year. Since the Big Ten is probably going to have at least 9 teams in the NCAA tournament, potential matchups that would now be permissible will be the Sweet 16 if you play twice, the Elite 8 if you play 3 times, and the second round of the tournament if you play a team once during the regular season.
Yeah, and another quick update on that. Generally, they would that's a general rule. They would generally move a team, potentially even a seed line, in order to avoid that rule being violated. If a conference has more than 9 teams in the field, you don't move a team a seed line. That they're even more relaxed with the rules in terms of placement for these conferences. With you know, as we'll see, may see as Matt mentioned next year. 15 out of 16 teams making the field from a conference. Rocco.
Yeah, I think first off, Purdue, the group had them eighth overall. I kind of went on a deep dive, and I understand that Iowa State and Illinois both went into Purdue and won. But I think there's so much data when the teams are this good that the head-to-head means less, in my opinion, just because you're going for the 2 seed or 1 seed spots, and obviously it doesn't matter. Everybody got 2 seeds anyway. The only thing that did matter was St. Louis. So out of Purdue, Illinois, Iowa State, they would all prefer St. Louis. So Purdue got the shaft in our panel. But I do have Purdue 6 overall because I think their body of work, when you factor in that Iowa win, you factor in the fact they beat Texas Tech, and the other road wins we touched on, it's a lot more impressive, even though I do think Iowa State and Illinois have much more dangerous capabilities of getting to Indianapolis and the Final Four. I just think Purdue's the more deserving resume right now for the entire body of work. And again, there is a consequence of not going to St. Louis, I suppose, albeit Illinois and Iowa State are geographically closer. So that was one I got stuck on for probably way too long, probably will not matter. The other one was Nebraska. I get it by a certain percentage. Greenville's the closest, but to me, logically, it makes zero sense for a team from the Great Plains to go to ACC and SEC country. If I was the Nebraska AD, I'd be blowing everybody up in the committee to make sure this doesn't happen and make sure that we get out to San Diego or Portland, since Oklahoma City and St. Louis were, of course, gone by the time you got to number 10.
I believe actually the mileage from Purdue, if I remember correctly, to Buffalo and to St. Louis, as the crow flies, is identical. So I don't think Buffalo is an awful place for Purdue to be going.
Not an awful
Yeah.
place.
No, I agree with you. Nebraska to Greenville, I was kind of a shock, but when I got there, but San Diego and Tampa were just so much further for them, so it was just kind of. But
You got to
that's something
fly
we can
either
look
way.
at.
You
Yeah,
got to fly either way. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
it's still a little cold that time of the year to enjoy Niagara Falls, though.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, at least I mean, the way you
The
did
water
it
starting to
with,
flow again?
yeah,
the way
I
you did it with
thought.
Greenville, they ended up with all West Coast teams anyway. They don't have to deal with ACC or SEC. So you basically took my point away.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there also though that you look at Texas Tech. Texas Tech would definitely like to be in San Diego though.
Oh
That's
yeah, they
actually
would. They
so
would.
so if Rest has got to fly
And
either
Oklahoma
way, San
City.
Diego or
Yeah.
Greenville, and Greenville. Then you end up with Greenville or Tampa for Nebraska, and I think it's a slam dunk to go to Greenville. But
Personally, as a fan, I would rather go to Tampa. A lot more going on there. But anyway, I'll digress.
Mike,
I totally agree with Matt. I think I'd like to, part of me likes to see the teams that have actually won games. We're talking about teams from the smaller conferences, teams that actually win games to be rewarded rather than teams from the major conferences that struggle, that go like, 1 out of 10 and against quad one. I really don't want to see like last year's version of North Carolina make the field. So that's what I'm hoping for. Reward the teams that win. Yeah, now we're headed in the stretch. It's exactly 1 month till Selection Sunday, 28 days, and we're definitely in the home stretch of things. And for Michigan, it's like I'm happy they're the overall number one, but let's see what happens next week when they play at Purdue and Duke on a neutral court. Then we'll talk for sure.
exciting week ahead. Absolutely, we'll head that a little more tomorrow night. Tytel.
I usually try to pick out an 8-9 or 7-10 game that catches my eye, but I think, Chad, with all 4 of your 4-5 possible second round games, they're all amazing. In the Midwest, you might have Izzo against Patino. In the West, you might have Few against Calipari. Sadly, Calipari had to travel all the way to the Great Northwest to play in Portland. I don't know how that would go. And then the other 2 conference matchups, Vandy and Alabama. We've already seen that. Vandy beat them by 6 points in January. And North Carolina, Virginia, we already saw that when the Tar Heels beat Virginia by 5 last month. So I love the fact that we have these amazing coaches and amazing conference matchups. It could be an amazing second round.
Yeah, that Portland pod in the South there almost had great matchups. If we swapped Wilmington and Liberty, it could have been Virginia versus Liberty, Carolina versus Wilmington, but just missed it. But it is an all Carolina Virginia pod. Griggs, you want to finish off the show?
Yeah, to uh I guess follow up or go along with something that Rocco said about the placement of teams. One of the questions, this is always kind of funny to me, when you're submitting your championship packets when schools do, and this is all done online now, is it asks you which of the sites you would like to be sent to if you're the overall number one seed. And what's kind of amusing is that all 350 schools have to answer this question. So even Morgan State is answering the question: if you were the overall number one seed, where would you like to be sent? Uh, the reason I bring that up, well, two reasons is it was a few years ago, and I want to say it was Duke. You all might remember this. Requested to go somewhere that was not the closest location to them, and they got it. So they do look at that. I've asked, and I think I think we've all asked, like, do you consider that
Houston had one.
question? Where was it?
Houston had one where they wanted to go away from the Big Ten country.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't, because if you go to Chicago, you're definitely dealing with a Big Ten team. So like Houston and Florida don't want to go there, for
Yeah.
example.
And yeah, but they only do it for the overall number one seed because I've asked, well, what about
Yeah.
like when you're building the rest of the bracket? Do you consider when you're placing teams where those other teams said that they would like to go? And they said no. And I guess it makes sense because they're having to pay for everyone's travel and they're only going to do that favor to the number one overall team. But I almost wonder, like, why have that question at all? Like, if you're not going to consider it for anyone except the overall number one team, then does it really matter?
Because I'd say on this, I bet you Duke might prefer to play in Philadelphia
They
instead of Greenville.
might.
Especially Duke would not want to play NC State in Greenville.
Yeah,
I can tell you that right now. Yeah.
If Duke ends up as the overall number one and they say they want to go to Philadelphia, that is where the committee will put them.
That is absolutely correct. And
Yeah.
if we find out any information
Possible.
about anybody having a strange answer, not going to the closest city, we'll definitely let you know. But for now, that is it for tonight. We will be back tomorrow night with the Hoops HD report. Wednesday night under the radar. Next Sunday night with another bracket rundown. But on behalf of David Griggs, Matt Sikowski, John Salika, Mike Chaw, John Titel, Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.